so very, very long.
I don't know if you guys are talking about this already. I came in a little late, but it seems like even in science fiction movies where the alien contact is, for the most part, peaceful, it's always so very cryptic when they first contact us. Like Contact with what's her name? Jodie Foster. Or any type of movie or like Close Encounters. The first contact is always so vague and strange.
Well, Close Encounters, the whole thing was vague.
I just don't understand why they don't realistically portray a first contact situation.
Well, I think part of it is that they're a completely alien species, so I don't think they understand our way of thinking. They're trying to go by their way of thinking.
I think that's certainly part of it in Close Encounters. I think actually in Contact, it's the exact opposite. They're trying to communicate in the best way they know, which is the universal language of mathematics. They understand, the aliens do, that we don't comprehend their perspective, but everybody has to know math. And the laws of math are the same throughout the multiverse, apparently in state and settings. And therefore, the only way we know we can communicate with them is to send them mathematical instructions to build a radio or a travel tunnel or whatever it is.
But why send her back with no evidence? Why send her back with just like that contact? I don't.
I am absolutely unable to answer that question because I don't quite understand that myself.
Yeah, and a lot of science
I haven't read the novel though, so I don't know
like
if it's
that,
different.
you know.
Does anybody know?
No, I haven't read the novel, but I did see the film. But in the film, at the very end, where she's in front of this panel, they're judging her to see if because of what they think is a failed mission. The one dude who was put in charge of all the scientists, we've worked his way up to the top, is still being very sneaky and very secretive about some information. So obviously there was some proof that the government's trying to hide. And they're trying to put it off
well, they
on
were
her,
trying to hide that there was
up.
8 hours of static that got recorded when it should have only been, 6 seconds of her sitting in the seat.
Nixon's secretary got hold of it.
But my larger point is, like, I hate to make the analogy, but like in Star Trek, they have a prime directive and they have specific protocols for first contact. And in every science fiction genre I've read, that always seems to be the most reasonable one. Watch them for a little while and then come to them peaceably. And I rarely see that in
Well, in Close Encounters, it's like the General Ian said, it's mathematics trying to communicate because the audible tones and the light frequencies was all based on mathematics.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think that message comes through. At least it didn't come through for me as clearly as it does in Contact. But I agree with you. There was some purpose to this.
And our government
But somehow
is the first
everybody
people.
knows what that means with no actual
Apparently,
reason for knowing what that
French
means.
keyboard player.
And you just play it back to them, and somehow that's communicating.
Because they had to find the right tones and the right light frequencies, and that's mathematics.
Well, if I say hello to you.
Okay, but what does it mean?
It
means you
hello.
know harmonics.
No,
How the hell are you?
It means hello. If I'm in another country and I can stumble
Okay,
upon the
but
word
at
for
the end of
hello,
the
you say
movie,
hello.
they got hello,
Right.
and then they start playing a symphony back and forth. Is it
They sent
that
a
one?
shit ton of information
Yes,
to us
because
that blew out our systems because they thought, oh, you understand it. Here, take it. Oh my God, we fried you.
And
another
one was going, hey, how are you?
From another, how are we doing time? From
We've got 15 minutes.
yeah. From another point of view, which is like taking a step back, if the aliens introduce themselves and oh, okay, yeah, we're from there, Oh, we don't want to kill you. We just want to, get some water. We're fine. Okay, that's kind of how V started, right?
Yeah.
But
No,
clearly,
Nazis. That was cool.
but clearly, anybody who just comes right out and tells you what they want, they're actually lizards in disguise.
Yeah.
So, in order for there to be any possible doubt about their evil intent, there has to be error in communication. Also, otherwise the movie would end really violently. So you basically have the first half hour wondering what the hell's going on.
You have that whole beginning with all these people who were touched mentally and got the music and the image of the Devil's Tower. Okay, But then when he finally gets, and the government's throwing all the roadblocks for no reason, when he finally gets there, it turns out the government knows all this stuff.
Yeah, they
So
know
what
all
was
the
the purpose of doing all this mysterious communication with the
Because
man on
they've
the
tried to
street?
they've tried to talk to our government, and our government doesn't want to talk to them because our government automatically sees them as a threat. So we've got to just talk to everyone. Anyone that can
Okay,
hear our
well, I didn't
yeah.
get that from the movie, that's,
Then, yeah,
you know.
See, you've got to learn to let these things go. It's there. I promise you, it's there. Watch it again. It's there. I swear to you.
Okay, all I can see is,
In-
you
in
know,
other movies-
all of that work to get there and understand why he's building mashed potatoes and, you know, all that stuff.
It
And
means
when he
something.
gets there, the government's there anyway. What the hell were we following
The
him
truth
for?
is out there. That's
Yeah,
what's
but
there.
all the people that got the light shined on them and got the suntan were all seeking that devil's peak.
Those were the ones that were
And
making
they
the call.
didn't succeed because the government was stopping them.
Yeah.
Basically, the space chandelier was an early version of WikiLeaks.
Nice.
They were trying to get the message out to people who would actually do something with it other than keep it to themselves.
Occupy planet Earth.
There
So
you
they
go.
picked a remote desolate spot which only a few hundred people had
Now,
access.
sometimes
The people who want the truth will seek it out no matter what.
Okay, just 1 second. Now, sometimes the errors in communication. Okay, in Close Encounters, clearly they had some vastly different way of communicating that just made clear communication problematic.
It was just
Some-
that
but
jump
some-
from
but-
hello to Encyclopedia Britannica.
but
I
so-
can
in some
understand their end,
movies-
but not our end.
Back to his point, in some movies, the communication breakdown is a little more clunky. So like in Earth versus the Flying Saucers, they transmitted an entire, here's where we're going to be, here's where you want to be, we're going to meet, we're going to talk about stuff. But apparently because of their vastly dissimilar time perception, it was like way sped up. So it's not until an hour later in the movie when the tape recorder's batteries are dying, that it runs very slowly, greetings people of Earth, and they can actually understand what's going on. So if only they had audacity like an hour earlier, they could have figured out what the message was. So that's kind of.
Yeah, the similar thing in the TNG episode, The Nth Degree, where Red Barkley becomes superhumanly intelligent, because it's how the aliens are transmitting to them how to build the device that they will need to talk to them. And after that's all gone
Well, it's meant through her, right?
Yeah, and the Enterprise is nearly blown up.
holodeck
It turns out to be a great peaceful contact with the Cytherians, and everybody's happy. They go on to exchange cultural and technological data, and the Federation fulfills its mission.
Yay! This fellow had a question.
Do you think if we really were being pursued by alien life, and I think it's totally likely possible, do you think that their pursuit of us, if they were around here and that they would be volatile or combative?
Oh, I have a definite opinion on that, and I'll start. Let's start this guy again.
I think that they probably wouldn't need to. I think that we're our own worst enemy. So I think that we'll find a way for us to pit each other against ourselves before they would come in. Our first reaction is to resort to violence. And a classic example would be back during the Cold War, where all they need to do was just cause an explosion over either the United States or the Soviet Union, and we all
Our benefit. I think that even if they come to trade with us, we'd end up being dependent on them, or they will, in a mercantilist manner, decide that we must provide certain raw materials to keep their economic engines going. Yeah, I think it is not necessarily. It might be enormously helpful in other ways, in the same sense that when the Europeans came into certain areas, people would then learn how to read, and ultimately their standard of living would be raised. But the fact is, you have to go through a lot of havoc and a lot of cultural turmoil and a lot of death and disease and horror to get to that elevated plateau.
So basically, the aliens have to turn a profit in order to
People of Earth shop or die.
Yes.
That is an excellent way to look at it. If aliens are out there and they come to us, I believe they will come under the prospect of peace, or at least we're not being aggressive. We just want to know what's there. It could very easily turn into that, because we certainly did as human beings in the places that we went. But even if they do come here with insidious purposes intentionally, they're still going to present, the fig leaf to try to be good. Mars Attacks is something I wanted to bring up because it's the best 50s movie made in the 90s, and it's the best way to kill aliens. Even if they're going to be nice to us so they can trick us and kill a mass majority of us, we always have country music to get rid of.
I guess that's what it needs, country music.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This lady?
If they have the technology to come, wouldn't it be more like the Chinese who had this huge armada, explored, they think they got to America, and they basically went home and said, nobody has anything
There's
better
nothing
than
useful out
ours,
there. Let's
let's
go away.
stay home.
Yeah.
Been there, let's.
Admiral Giant Sweet.
I mean, it would be really ego destroying, but wouldn't that be more likely that they would see what we have and...
That'd be a great movie.
Well,
Yeah.
the
Well, that's
question
kinda
is,
his-
the
that's kinda his
Europeans who
point.
are more technologically advanced than the Aztecs or the Yoruba, or in some aspects the Chinese, found things they wanted at those places, but they tended to be raw materials. So we could easily be broken down to our component parts and sold
You know,
off.
it's like, why bother?
If aliens came to Earth to uplift us, would we fight it?
Of course we would. Oh, yeah.
Well,
There are always people who want to fight change, and not all change is good.
Where's the profit in that? I think it comes back to that. I think
New markets.
Well, most of the uplifters did it to get slaves, so.
You just wanted to go on and sing the 27th day.
I
It was really bad ending.
No, it hasn't.
Well, the premise was that the alien ship from the dying planet came down, kidnapped 5 people from different countries, gave them something that if they used it within 27 days would destroy 1/5 of the human life in one area.
Oh, I've heard
After 27 days, it would be inert. So they give one to a guy in Russia, one to a guy in America,
Oh, I remember that.
English, China.
And when they're about to use it,
Everybody has a permanency.
and they're all about to let that thing go, and they all go, at the same time, like, no, it's not.
No, the Chinese girl just simply kills herself. Her thing goes in there. The American guy goes into hiding, and the British girl goes into hiding. The scene varies from world to world, in fact. The Russian gets caught, and they try to make him use his on America. And the 5th guy is a scientist who finally figures out, and this is your worst ending of any movie I've ever seen. We can make this work so that we'll only kill bad people.
Oh.
So all the communists that are the bad communists are killed, the hero Russian soldiers survive, but all the evil people die.
Thou should not kill unless we're bad.
And then they say, hey, you guys, we didn't kill ourselves, but you can still come down and join.
Wrap it up. Any last minute questions? You.
It's not exactly a question, but I just wanted to say that I think that the reason why a lot of us, myself included, like those old 50s and 60s movies, and it's a theme that occurs all across the board, even outside of science fiction, is that we like the underdog to win. It seems to be like a borderline thing, and everybody loves the underdog. So whenever you have some alien coming to this planet, the first thing that we're looking for whenever we watch this film is to say, okay, we know the underdog is us, and we're going to have to win somehow. And so no matter how bad it is or implausible it is, we want to win. And we're going to come up with that somehow or other. And I find that films that are written by authors that have been translated, if they're more faithful in how they're translated to film, they're usually more interesting in how they go about doing that. But again, sometimes Hollywood gets their hands on it, and they're appealing to our gut instinct. And because of that, they're going to give us what they think we want on a very basic level.
So it's not that we're smarter, we just have more ingenuity.
Yeah.
We got moxie, baby.
But
They're smart, but by God, we got the humans here, we're going to figure out a way.
Right, we have to figure out a way because nobody wants to go see these films where everybody is
And the writers on our side.
Well, midway,
An awful lot of science fiction and even like the Marvel Universe posits that there is something special about humanity.
well, no.
Doctor thinks so.
Well, if you look at the film, the old World War II film, Midway, where you see the Japanese side and then switch back to the Americans. The Japanese, this one commander of his naval vessel is looking at the head guy and going, you don't want to awaken the sleeping giant, referring to a
Admiral Yamamoto said that, said after they bombed Pearl Harbor, he's supposed to have said, it can't be proven, that I fear that all we have done is awaken a sleeping giant and given him a vast resolve. He had been a diplomat in Washington. He knew what Americans were like, and he was absolutely right.
And that's the premise of the science fiction films. they're coming down, and all of a sudden they've awakened the sleeping giant, and everybody pulls together and says, to hell with you, we can fight each other, but you don't have any say in it.
And yeah, it's ultimately the human spirit defending their home turf.
Yes,
That's
I
what
can
it
pick
is.
on my brother, but you can't.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. Hope it was entertaining.